What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a story time of when a kid destroys another kid's car over Skibidi toilet. Yes, this generation might actually be ruined. This might actually be the downfall of Gen Alpha, bro. You guys might genuinely be cooked. I really don't know. But leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Anyway, so we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Charlie. So anyways, Charlie had to babysit a kid. Or I guess he didn't have to babysit a kid. I guess he wanted to get paid. I don't think he really wanted to babysit the kid. But, the parent was, she needed someone to babysit her son. It kind of worked out by Charlie's mom getting, contacted by someone she kind of knew, being like, this is super last minute. I'm super sorry. We had another sitter planned, lined up, ready to go, but she canceled last minute. We've been planning this trip for a while. We really don't want to bail on it. Is there any way that your son or anyone he knows would want to babysit? We're paying really good money, just because we really want this to happen. So let him know. So anyways, Charlie's mom conveys this information to him, and Charlie's kind of like, well, screw it, dude. I'm trying to get that bag, so I might as well. And also, how bad could this kid be? By saying how bad could this kid be, you are kind of asking for it. I'm not gonna lie, you are kind of asking for it. If you're saying verbatim, how bad could this be? Because you're basically testing the universe. You're tempting, right? To be like, how bad could this be? Yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad. So anyways, Charlie, he drives over, and he drives over in his car that he just got. It's not a brand new car. It's not like some McLaren. It's not a Lamborghini. What color is his Lamborghini? It's no color, man, because he doesn't have a Lamborghini. It's some car. It's not a super fancy car, but bro, buddy's 16. Charlie's 16. It's his first car ever. It's a really big deal. Yeah, it's got 300 billion miles, and it's probably about to explode anyways, but he's got a car. Charlie used to work summer jobs, and he never really spent his money. He kind of saved it in the bank account, and he both worked summer jobs, and he'd also flip trading cards and baseball cards and all that kind of stuff on eBay to make a little bit more money too. And then after 2 years of doing it and then also getting his license, he was finally able to get a car. So it was pretty big for him, and he really liked driving around. And one thing I will say is if you get a car earlier than your friends, it's cool because you have a car and they don't. But, you're going to be getting a lot more calls from your friends being like, hey, buddy, how's it going? Completely unrelated, but I, Loki, need to get from here to there at this time. Haha, could you pick me up? You're going to get a lot more of those calls, and Charlie did get a lot more of those calls. He actually got one of the calls hey, can you bring me to this place? Oh, bro, do you want to go to this place with me? It just so happens that they were wanted to go there anyways, but Charlie's nah, I got a job tonight. So anyways, Charlie drives over to this kid's house, and this kid is in a nice-ass house. It is one of those, it's the fancy house at the end of the street. The dad's some, crazy lawyer or something, and the mom's insane. You already know how that goes down. Yeah, so anyways, this family's pretty crazy, and that's probably one of the reasons why Charlie was so happy to, do this job last minute, because he was probably being paid pretty well. Charlie didn't tell me exactly how. And, oh, by the way, if you guys have your own stories that you want to submit, go to Instagram, look me up. It's Connor Pugs. I actually have more followers on there because my reels do really well, but follow me on there and then message me your story. Don't message me, do I want to hear your story? Yes, I do. I tell these stories for a living. Please, come on, quickly. Just send them to me, man. Just send me the story. Also, I sometimes go through really old stories. I got submitted months and months and almost a year ago for one. So if I don't tell your story right away, it's probably been added to a book somewhere, added to a list. Anyways, though, so Charlie didn't tell me the exact amount, but it was definitely enough for him to be kind of excited to do this job, even though he probably expected this kid's going to be a little bit of a spoiled brat. So yeah, okay, I do want to say, just because a kid's parents have a lot of money or they have more money than the average parent, I will say that doesn't necessarily immediately make them a spoiled brat. But I definitely, In my childhood, I was surrounded by, and especially like more my high school era, I was surrounded by some kids that were crazy rich. And like, my parents were never poor, right? We got around. It's not like I got the new iPhone as soon as it came out or anything, but I never went hungry, bro. Like, my parents did a good job for themselves, but like I was broke compared to these kids because it's this crazy next level. That's going to be a whole story time for a different day. But I knew a lot of kids that had, really rich parents, and they were good people, right? They were good. They were raised right. Sure, they could be out of touch at times. Like, don't get me wrong. When they're like, oh yeah, like what's the average salary? And they're like, earn $1 million per year. That's pretty poor, bro. And they don't even mean it like as like an offensive thing. They just literally don't know, and their life is surrounded by that. But also there's a lot, like, I've also seen situations, and unfortunately it's more often than not, when you have really rich parents and they low-key don't care to raise you properly, you just become a crazy spoiled brat. So Charlie was like a little bit afraid that this kid was going to be an absolute menace, but Charlie was hoping as he was driving over that best case scenario that he's going to pull up. This kid's going to be one of those like little polite kids, raised nice, good manners, goes to bed early, so then Charlie can get paid to sit there and watch TV in their nice house. That's the good thing about babysitting, bro, is the whole thing is like, you send them to bed early, you're paid by the hour usually, or even if you're not, you're paid for the whole job, but you're paid to stay there until they get back. But a lot of those hours, the kid's supposed to be asleep. So you're literally getting paid to be on your phone, to be doing homework, or to be watching TV. So Charlie was kind of hyped because like Charlie's used to working like brutal summer jobs that like, sometimes like under the table, like not even allowed to be working them as the age he was doing. And they were not paying that great for the work he was putting in. And also like flipping cars, I get it. It's not labor. It's not like that tedious, but it's hard and it's inconsistent. So this is like the easiest money he's seen on the table in a second. So anyways, he pulls up and he walks out and he sees the door open and the wife kind of like walks out, or presumably the wife, and she's all in this like nice dress or whatever. And she looks a little bit stressed out and she's like, "Hey, Charlie, right?" He's like, "Yeah, Charlie, like, my mom told me you guys, like, needed a babysitter. Very happy to help out." So she's like, "Oh, come on in, Charlie. Come on in." So Charlie walks up into the door, goes through it, and looks inside. And, like, the house was pretty cool on the outside, but it was, like, deceivingly so much cooler on the inside. Like, don't get me wrong, the outside of the house was super nice, because he, like, when his mom was like, "Oh, you're going to go, I don't know, go for the Flanagans." I'm coming up with random names, but you're going to go babysit the Flanagans kids. He didn't necessarily ever meet the Flanagans before, or if he did, he was like 3 years old. Dude, I've had so many situations where someone's like, "Hey," like a parent, an older person, right? They're like, "Oh my God, Connor, do you remember me?" And I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, well, I met you when you were 8 months old." I was like, "Okay, yeah, bro, I think that explains why I don't remember you. It's a little bit weird for you to come up to me and be like, 'Do you remember me? I met you when you were like literally a sperm cell in the uterus, bro. Do you remember me?' It's like, bro, just say, 'Hey, I met you back in the day. It's nice to see you again.'" It takes the pressure off of me. You're expecting a 2-year-old's gonna remember you, bro. I did not. I remember playing with Legos and Star Wars. And Lego Star Wars on the Wii. That's all I remember. Sorry, I don't remember you. But anyways, yeah, like he knew the house was nice. Like the house was nice from the outside. He knew about them, but it was like deceivingly nice on the inside. Like the houses kept going in. It was super modern. It was a super cool house. And you can kind of hear like some kids screaming upstairs. And that was like the beginning of like Charlie kind of realizing that this might be a little bit more than, maybe a little bit more than he expected. He kind of saw the dollar signs, and I'm not saying, oh, he went crazy for the money, but I'm saying like he kind of, he's like, okay, I'll do it. Didn't even think about it. He hears like screaming and like it's bad, right? But he walks in and like you can see the wife's already on edge, probably having to deal with this spoiled kid for like the last like 2 hours, being like, "Stop watching Skibidi Toilet." We'll get to that later. Anyways, though, so she's like kind of showing around the house, and she's like, "Oh, and this is the living room. Like, here's a big TV, and there's like some big like $20 billion TV with 10 trillion pixels. Bro, you need the 4K Ultra HD dual monitors, bro, to watch Skibidi Toilet in 4K. Ah, hell yeah. No, but anyway, she's showing around the house, brings them to the outside. It's a summer day, so it's a little bit hot, but it's definitely towards the end of the day. But shows the backyard, and bro, the backyard is crazy. There's a big old pool. There's like a whole, like, every toy. There's a playhouse. There's a slide. There's a hot tub. Like, there's so much, like, grass to play on. It's a big field. Like, this is, like, a kid's, like, dream. But, of course, bro, if you grow up with all of this, that's the thing. Life's about perspective, dude. So when you grow up with all this, it's not super cool. It's life. It's like, when you wake up and you look at TikTok in the morning, maybe to someone who's never seen that or seen a phone before, they'd be like, bro, that's insane. Like, little funny videos that are perfect for you, that they're immediately there. Like, imagine like someone from like the 60s watching like the 2 TV channels all of a sudden sees TikTok. I mean, their brain would probably melt, but also it's all about perspective. So for this kid, it's like, yeah, it's the coolest place ever, but this has always been his life. He's kind of whatever to him, and anything less sucks, which most things are less. But anyways, go back into the house, and this kid is still screaming. And you can see the dad walks down, looks super tired, is like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then makes eye contact with Charlie. He's like, hey, what's up? You must be, well, whatever, son. It's nice to meet you. Like, thank you for doing this so last moment. We understand, like, that this is kind of a quick turnaround. And, we're paying you pretty good for that reason. Starts going through the list of like, hey, here's our numbers. We're coming back tonight. Not too late. We're coming back at 10. We have to go to this thing. Thank you for doing this. His bedtime is 8. And they kind of look at each other. And then they look back at Charlie and they're like, do your best to get him in by 8. Kind of like, that's a long shot for him to do what he's supposed to do. And they're like, if anything happens, like, she's like, oh, there's pizza in the fridge already. If you want to throw that in the oven, or just throw it in a pan and just heat it up real quick. It's pretty good. He likes pizza. Shouldn't be a problem. And during this whole thing, you can just hear this screaming from upstairs. And Charlie's like starting to be like, all right, this is probably more than I signed up for originally, but I'm just going to tough it out. I mean, it's kind of a situation where maybe this isn't going to be a relaxing 5 hours, but at the end of the day, he's getting paid a good amount of money. So it's like, you know what? I'm just going to like power through it and we'll figure it out. So anyways, right, eventually the parents are like, and our son's upstairs. His name is Ben, or we're going to call him Ben for this story. And that's when the mom's like, Ben, honey, your babysitter's here. And you just hear, shut up, Mom. I'm watching Skibidi Toilet. And Charlie's like, what? What? And she's like, well, the mom's low-key embarrassed, bro. Because one thing for me, I feel like it's so uncomfortable. I mean, one, it's so cringe when, like, a kid is, like, super spoiled and disrespects their parents. And I don't mean, like, having your own opinions. Your parents say one thing. You don't have to be like, sir, yes, sir. But, like, at least be respectful with why you might disagree. And also, I will say, especially for the younger viewers here, a lot of times, sometimes your parents might say something and it doesn't make sense to you now. Dude, life experience and perspective, like, yeah, your parents, like, they've lived for a long time, bro. They've probably gone through the same things as you. Look, I'm not going to, like, my advice to you is sometimes trust them. I mean, it depends per situation, obviously. If your dad's like, oh, do these scary drugs, like, no, okay. But what I'm trying to say is generally, they want the best for you, and they've been through your position before, so you should probably listen. Like, they're like, oh, you should do your homework. Yeah, you should probably do your homework, bro. I know it sucks. Or, yeah, don't sneak out. It's probably for your own safety. I mean, have a little fun, man. But what I'm trying to say is it's always been so, like, uncomfortable for me when, like, a kid blatantly disrespects their parents. Because it just looks so bad on the parents. And sometimes a kid's literally just a menace. But also sometimes it's like, did you raise this kid? Like, did you raise him like this? Is Did you get stuck with like a terrible kid, or is this the consequences of your actions? And that's kind of embarrassing on you. Anyways, Charlie's mad uncomfortable. The parents are looking uncomfortable, and they're kind of just like, haha, we're gonna go. And Charlie's like, well, okay. He doesn't even really know what to do. Does he go upstairs or not? So they literally just turn around. They're like, call us if you need anything. We'll be back at 10. Bye. And then they leave. So Charlie's kind of just awkwardly standing there, kind of just like, what am I supposed to do now? So now Charlie's in a situation where he's awkwardly standing there. Like, he's just hanging out. The parents are left. Because, like, usually in a situation like this, the parents, like, after calling for their son to come down or their daughter to come down, you know, they would introduce them, the babysitter to the kid. They would all kind of be there. Then the parents would go. Then it's a slightly awkward moment. And then the babysitter would be like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to go, I don't know, play some video games or watch something or hang out outside? Are you hungry? Do you want to eat now? Do you want to eat later? Like, can you tell me when you want to eat so I can kind of prepare, like, the food then? Or if it's something, you know what I mean? So now it's like Charlie's standing there. He's thinking, do I go upstairs and try and find this kid? Do I hang out here and wait for him to come down? Like, it's low-key kind of ambiguous what he should do. So anyways, Charlie's kind of sitting there, standing there, just like, I don't know. He's there for like 5 minutes because he's like, I don't kind of want to go up to see that kid because he sounds terrible. And honestly, I feel like it's better to be here and not dealing with him than to go up there and deal with him. Yeah, sure, eventually I do got to deal with him. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that. I know I eventually have to do it. But I'm going to try and drag it out for as long as possible. So after like 10 minutes goes by, Charlie's like, okay, you know, I got to go up and see this kid eventually. It's going to be really weird if I go up like an hour later. So let me just get it over with. Let me just go up. Like, it's fine, whatever. I'll just get over it. So sure enough, right, Charlie, he goes over to the stairs, walks up. You can kind of hear a little bit of noise coming from down the hallway because he goes out, there's a hallway, and he has a sense of where this kid's room is. So he walks up to the room. It's like, he takes a second. He takes a pause because he's like, okay, there's no going back after this. So he knocks on the door. And there's no response. But he can obviously hear noises. So he's like, hey, what's up, Ben? I'm Charlie, I'm your babysitter. Like, can I come in? And you hear no response for a second. And you hear, fine, which is like, bro, just say yes. Like, by saying fine, you're just like being a bigger boo-boo about the whole thing, dude. So anyways, Charlie opens up the door and he sees some like kid sitting on his bed looking at an iPad. And he hears like, skibidi bop bop bop. He hears the stupid, okay, some of you guys like Skibidi Toilet, but you're not Skibidi Toilet kids. Some of you guys like it. I'm just annoyed. Look, you have to understand that I don't like it because of all the stories I've heard about it and have to tell you guys. So maybe it's great, right? Maybe it's great and you can like what you like, but I'm personally just annoyed by it just because, you know, of all the stuff that's gone down, like all the stories I've had to tell. So he walks in and this kid's just looking at his iPad. He's like, oh, what's up, man? Like, nice to meet you. No response. He's like, so, like, what do you want to do? No response. He's like, do you want to at least, like, do you want to eat now? And he's like, no. So it's the first response. So he's like, okay, that's great. He's like, do you want to eat in, like, an hour? And the kid's like, okay. So then, Charlie's like, okay. Well, it seems like you're busy doing that. So I'm just going to be downstairs. Come get me if you need anything. And yeah, dinner will be ready in an hour. So Charlie turns around and walks out, walks down the stairs. He sits down. He's like, wait, this is actually great. Like, this kid is a big cringe lord, right? He's being a spoiled brat 100%. But he's also glued to his iPad playing that Skibidi Bibby Wibbity whatever song, right? So it's like, this is actually great. Because I can just sit down here. Yeah, I got to cook some food eventually. And that's just like throwing pizza in the oven or whatever. But then maybe if I'm lucky, he'll just go back up. And then he'll go to bed, or he'll be on his iPad or whatever, and I can just sit here and get paid for very little. So Charlie thinks he's made it. Charlie thinks that he's literally cracked the code, and that he is like, bro, I escaped the Matrix. Like, this is the easiest money I've ever seen. So he sits down, and things are pretty good. And it's getting around that time. It's like 45 minutes. So he's like, all right, let me throw the food in the oven. Throws the food in the oven. Was kind of waiting around. And then eventually he's like, hey, like, Ben, like, food's ready. No response. But a couple minutes later, he hears him, like, shuffling down the stairs. And he sees Ben walking in the kitchen with his iPad, watching the Skibidi toilet videos on his iPad. Puts the iPad on the table, is, like, sitting down. He's like, what's for dinner? And he's like, hey, your parents left pizza. They said you liked it. And Ben's like, I had pizza a week ago. And Charlie's like, okay. It's really just what your parents said for me to get for you. So I made the pizza. He's like, oh my God, I had that pizza a week ago. My stupid mom and dad, they don't get it. I don't want to eat the same thing I ate a week ago, a week later. Bruh. And he goes back to watching Skibidi toilet videos. Charlie's like, haha. Because, like, yeah, Charlie's, like, not going to offer to make something new because he doesn't know what he's going to make. This was nice and easy. So, anyways, takes the pizza out of the oven, puts it on the table. He's like, it's probably pretty hot, so I wouldn't. And before he could even finish that sentence, Ben, while watching the Skibidi toilet video, so you're not even paying attention, reaches for a pizza and, like, burns his hand a little bit. Like, I mean, he doesn't get, like, 12-degree burns. Bro literally just touches something a little bit too hot. So Ben's reaction to this was, ah! Like, look, I get it. If you put your hand on a hot stove, if you put your hand in, like, a vat of molten lava, look. I get it. If you burn your hand legitimately and have to go to the hospital or whatever, yes, you can have a reaction. It makes sense to have a reaction. But here's the thing. Whenever you put your hand on something that's, like, slightly too hot, it's normally like, and then you, like, quickly take away your hand. Ben was like, ah, and he wasn't, like, screaming and crying. He was literally, like, screaming, like, here's the thing. He was rage screaming at Charlie. It wasn't even like, it was like, bah! Like, it was like Charlie's trying to describe this to me, but it's like, he is clearly raging at Charlie. It's not like he's screaming, crying because he's so upset. And Charlie's like, oh my God, like, are you okay, bud? Because remember, bro, Buddy's acting like pizza can get as hot as molten lava. Bro is acting as if this piece of pizza is as hot as the surface of the sun. But in reality, it was, like, slightly too warm to, like, pick up immediately. And he's like, how could you let me do this? I just burned my hand because of you. Which, bro, this is, like, typical spoiled kid right here. Basically blaming everything. Like, you can't take a second of accountability. Bro could literally go to an exam, put down 1 + 1 = 3, and then blame the teacher. I don't even know how he'd do it, but bro, trust me, he'd find a way to do that, dude. He'd find a way to do that. Anyways, right, so sure enough, right, Charlie's like, hey, bud, like, go wash your hands, put under cold water if it's really that hot. Charlie, in the moment, like, Charlie knew, even from the second, like, this kid started reacting, that, one, it was a played-up overreaction, because, bro, pizza just can't get that hot. And also, two, the way that he was screaming was, like, angry screaming. And this kid's like, I'm telling my parents. Charlie's like, okay, do you want to put your hand under, like, cold water? Because this kid is, like, completely forgotten, like, his hand is, quote-unquote, burned off or exploded from the flames and the death and the heat. I don't even know. So, yeah, sure enough, right, the kid's like, he's like, you better not let this happen again. Which, like, dude, it's so funny when spoiled kids blame their own actions on other people. Like, dude, come on. Anyways, though, so sure enough, right, this kid goes back to, like, takes a piece of pizza, like, grabs, actually, like, it was a whole pizza, by the way. Charlie got a whole pizza ready. This kid literally took the entire pizza up with him. He's like, I will be going to my room to watch Skibidi Toilet. And he, like, walks away. And Charlie's like, because, like, Charlie Loki was, like, he was told by his parents, like, yeah, like, they'll have food for you to make there. Or you can just have some of that. And when Charlie saw a big old pizza, he's like, no way this kid is, like, no way this kid takes the whole pizza, bro. Like, there's no shot. But he's probably going to have a few pieces and then leave. But no, he actually goes, grabs the entire pizza. It's like those comments, like on Instagram Reels, the comments, like, just big and greedy. Just big and greedy. Yeah, so he walks upstairs, takes the whole thing with them. And by the way, just in case I forgot to mention this later, I think this is a little bit later on, Charlie sees, but he eats like half of one slice. But the spoiled kid, because he's so spoiled, just takes the entire thing just so he can have taken the entire thing. Not because he actually wants to eat the whole thing. He just wants to take it, bro. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, Charlie watches as this kid goes up to his room. And Charlie's like, okay, well, that was like kind of a disaster. But also, it's only 7 o'clock. The parents are coming at 10 o'clock. And it looks like this kid's going to go up to his room and just like watch his dumb videos. And I can just sit, watch TV, chill, hang out, have a good time, relax a little bit, and get paid for just doing that. So Charlie thought he was really out in the clear. So Charlie goes over to the living room, grabs the TV remote, sits down, and thinks that, you know what, he's all good. Yeah, so sure enough, right, that's not the case. Charlie didn't get away so quick and easy. So basically, Charlie's sitting there, he has the TV remote, he's like, okay, finally. I'm free from this kid. I'm free from this psychopath kid. Life's going to be okay. I'm just going to hang out. He actually was starting to look forward because, look, it was a hot summer day. It was a nice, air-conditioned, cool house. It was like, a sick TV, had all the streaming services, had every option. Charlie was like going to enjoy this. But then the worst noise ever. He hears footsteps coming down the wooden stairs. And Charlie in his head's like, why? Why is this kid coming down? And so anyways, this kid, Ben, comes in, sits down, like, says there's a couch and there's a chair. He sits down on the chair, and he starts, like, watching his videos on his iPad. He's just playing Skibidi Toilet at full volume. So Charlie's like, oh, okay, well, I guess Charlie's okay, well, maybe this kid's lonely, so he wants to watch his videos, like, here with, like, just since I'm here, and he's like, okay, that's fine. So Charlie turns on the TV, and after, like, 3 milliseconds of the TV being on, the kid's like, turn that off, I'm trying to watch Skibidi Toilet. And Charlie's like, okay. So then Charlie turns it off, is like, okay, fine, I'll just go on my phone. Charlie goes on TikTok or Instagram Reels or something, and he starts playing the videos, and the videos are like, it's not that loud. Charlie's like, it's not even that loud. And as soon as, like, one video starts playing, the kid's like, I'm trying to listen to Skibidi Toilet. Turn off all your noisy things. And Charlie's like, oh, my God. So Charlie's like, fine. I'll just look at posts, right? So after about a couple minutes, Charlie's like, oh, my God, this is so bad. But he's like, I'm getting paid for this. Like, this is better than the summer job I work. Kind of, not really, but I'm getting paid. I'm almost done. Let's just make it out. So then a couple minutes later, the kid is like, do you know what Skibidi Toilet is? Charlie's like, no. Because he didn't. Like, I barely even know what it is. I made 100 story times about it. And the kid's like, okay. Do you want to know what Skibidi Toilet is? Charlie's like, I'm not sure. The kid's like, okay. So, and he, like, takes his iPad, he turns around, he's like, this is a Skibidi Toilet. It's like, and Charlie's like, and he's like, see this? It's a cameraman. Yeah, you see? Charlie's like, okay. Yep, that looks like something. He's like, do you like this? Charlie's like, I don't really know. I don't really get what's going on. He's like, wait, are you saying you don't like Skibidi Toilet? Is that what you're saying? You don't like Skibidi? Charlie's like, well, I mean, I didn't say that. I just said, like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm, like, a little confused. He's like, well, wow. Did you really just say you don't like Skibidi Toilet? Went. And Charlie's like, I'm not saying I don't like Skibidi Toilet. I'm just saying that. And the kid's like, okay. I'm gonna give you one more chance to say it correctly. Do you like Skibidi Toilet or not? And Charlie's like, I don't know. I haven't watched it. And the kid's like, so you're saying you don't? And then Charlie's like, yes, I don't like it. Which, okay. Should he have yelled at the kid and been like, the thing that you love is stupid gutter trash? No, okay, sure. But this kid was being really annoying. And then all of a sudden he's like, what? And Charlie's like, I didn't mean it like that. I just hadn't watched it. He's like, no. You just said that you don't like Skibidi Toilet. And Charlie's like, I've never seen it. I don't know. Maybe I would like it if I've seen it. And the kid's like, no, you're trying to backpedal because you know that you've made a big mistake. And Charlie's like, oh my God. He's like, you don't understand my power. You don't understand my influence. You don't understand that you just double-crossed the Skibidi Toilet Avenger. Charlie's like, what the fuck? Dude, what? The Skibidi Toilet what? Like, dude, what? I'm like genuinely so confused what any of this means. He's like, yes, you just double-crossed the Skibidi Toilet Avenger. You don't understand what you just did, bro. You're like so messed up right now. Dude, if I was you, I'd be like, oh no, I might as well just kill myself because it's so over. You're so cooked, buddy. And he like gets up and he walks out. And Charlie in his head is like, okay, don't know what the hell just happened. I really don't know what just happened. But this kid is no longer in the room with me. He seems pretty pissed off, so he probably won't come back for a little while. Maybe now I can actually just like relax, have a good time. You know, maybe not have a good time, but not be under constant like whatever the hell just went on, right? Whatever that was, that's not happening anymore. So we're fine. So Charlie sits back in his chair. He's kind of like, okay, I'm going to power through. It's 7:45. They're coming in a little over 2 hours. I can do this. So things seem pretty good. And he's kind of just sitting there, chilling, having a good time. Life is all right. Life is good. And he's sitting there for about an hour, a little more than an hour. He's just been kind of like watching some TV shows, you know, in a nice air-conditioned, sick-ass house. Like, things were actually pretty good for a second. He was low-key enjoying himself and being like, maybe I should, like, this might actually be worth it. Like, yeah, sure, I had a couple moments with, like, this kid who was super annoying, but I'm really not spending any time with him. And this is pretty cool. So it's about 9:15. And before, remember, his bedtime's at 8, so, like, he went up and he kind of yelled, he's like, hey, like, just, you know, it's your bedtime. I hope you're going to sleep. Because this kid's impossible, so he's, like, not going to really be, like, making sure he's in bed. Because he knows the lost cause. He's like, okay, as long as this kid is staying upside. As long as this kid is staying up there, then there really isn't anything to worry about. Like, yeah, he's probably not actually asleep, but whatever, dude. Like, that's fine. Whatever. Yeah, so sure enough, right, he's kind of sitting there, chilling. And that's when he hears the sound of breaking glass. And he's just like, this is what startles him. He's like, because, you know, immediately you think, did this kid just, like, drop a big glass vase? Did he knock over something? Could he be hurt? Right? Broken glass, it's like that can kind of cut up all your hands, and that can be a problem. Like, if you got a big cut, you have to bring him to the ER, and then all of a sudden this kind of chill, hanging out, watching TV thing could be I wasn't paying attention to this kid, and I'm going to get, like, in big trouble. So immediately Charlie stands up, pretty concerned for this kid, and pretty also a little concerned for himself, because he's like, shoot, I really don't know where this kid is, and that's low-key on me. So sure enough, right, he kind of, like, walks up, and he immediately runs up the stairs. And that's when he hears another sound of breaking glass. But he can almost tell that it wasn't coming from upstairs. Because when he was sitting on the couch, he really couldn't tell where the sound was coming from. But when he went upstairs, he was like, oh, okay, like, okay, it's not up here. Because he immediately ran up where he thought that Ben was. And now he's like, oh my God, I have to go all around this big house to try and figure out where Ben is and what nonsense he's doing. And he's like, he's supposed to be asleep. If his parents come back, they're going to see him playing with broken glass and me chilling. Like, that's a bad look. Like, whether or not I get paid, like, just having, like, really rich Karen-type parents after you is just not a good situation, bro. I'll tell you that. So sure enough, right, he hears the sound again. He runs down, and he hears the sound again. Sounds like it's coming from outside. So he goes out the front door, and he sees Ben with a big, like, hammer smashing his car windows. And so Charlie's like, dude, what are you doing? And Ben turns around and he's like, I am the Skibidi Toilet Avenger. If anyone speaks bad on Skibidi, they will pay the price. And he goes and he smashes another window. He's like, dude, you can't just be smashing my windows like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought that was kind of common sense. He's like, step back. The Skibidi Toilet Avenger is doing. So, like, Charlie starts walking towards him, and Ben's like, I have a hammer. And Charlie's like, okay, kind of pauses there because he's like, I forgot. This kid is a psychopath. Yeah, so this kid's looking at him like with a hammer raised. And Charlie's like, dude, put the hammer down, step away from the car. This is like some kind of like police scene in a movie where they all got the guns, but there's like a 15,000 police officers surrounding some guy in a car with their guns drawn or whatever. Like, it's a tough situation. So anyways, they're kind of chatting back and forth for a second because the kid Ben's like, I simply avenged your words on Skibidi. Honestly, I think we're even now, but even so, I still might need to do more damage. And surveying the car, his windshields were broken, his rear view mirrors were broken, his car windows, the side window, I think the front window wasn't. The other ones were all smashed up and destroyed. He saw a bunch of dents on the side of the car where it was probably just smashing it with a hammer. Like, it was bad. It was a bad situation. And, like, Charlie's, like, he's, like, upset about this. But also in the back of his mind, he's like, wait. Super rich kids' parents are going to come back and see that their psychopath son has destroyed the babysitter's car. This could be a story that gets out. Like, they care about their reputation locally, and the fact that they have a psycho son destroying cars, probably not the vibe. So there might be a situation where Charlie gets a new car out. I don't know. Anyway, so he's like, bro, relax. And they must have, like, their event must have ended early, or they must have realized, like, we just let our crazy son with some stranger, like some random person we barely knows, like, their son, and they probably already knew it was going to be a bad outcome. So you see headlights driving closer, pulling up, and sure enough, right, this kid's parents get out of the car, and they're like, the mom's like, what's going on here? And Charlie's like, ma'am, your son is smashing my car with a hammer. I just came out and caught him doing this. And the son, instead of being like, nuh-uh, which, like, I guess also that would have been a hard situation to nuh-uh yourself out of, because you're literally holding a hammer next to a car smashed up with hammer dents in it, and also your babysitter just said that you did that versus your word, which, like, probably not going to take your word. So instead, he doubles down. So he's like, this babysitter said bad things about Skibidi Toilet, and Mom, you know I'm the Skibidi Toilet Avenger, so I needed to like make him pay for what he said. And the mom looks so freaked out, and the dad just looks so tired, bro. Like, he's like, there's no way that, like, this is like 50% my genetic material. Like, this is so, like, what happened? So anyways, eventually the mom's like, you put that down right now. And he puts down the hammer, and you see him being dragged, like, the mom is dragging Ben into the house. And he's like, but Mom, I was just doing my work as a Skibidi Toilet Avenger. What, like, this is what I do, Mom, you know it. Slam the door. And so the dad walks up, kind of like a slow, calm, collected walk, a little bit of a stroll. Walks up to Charlie and is like, son, can we go inside and have a bit of a conversation? And Charlie's like, okay. So Charlie's like, oh, I don't know where this is going, but the guy sits him down. And he's like, look, you're obviously being paid for tonight. If anything, I think we're going to pay you double what we were going to pay you before. But more importantly, we understand that it wasn't your fault what happened out there and what our son did, right? We have a good sense that wasn't, on you. So here's what I'm thinking. We pay you double what we're normally going to pay you, but then we'll also buy you a new car of at least the same quality, if not better. And in Charlie's head, he's like, no way. He's like, the only thing I ask is that besides maybe telling your mom or your dad that the three of you, so you, your mom, your dad, you don't tell a soul. If any of your friends ask, say that you won the local lottery. Say that. Or say that you saved up enough money for whatever car I get you. And Charlie's like, okay. Because he had to deal with a crazy kid who broke the car. But, I mean, at this point, you got to realize that these parents have, crazy money. And at this point, $10,000 on a car and a little bit of extra payment, to them, that's worth it just to keep their reputation locally in check, which is so crazy to me. But I guess when you got money like that. So, yeah, sure enough, Charlie has to then call his mom to pick him up. But his mom's like, why are you calling me, mister? I just got a new car. And Charlie's like, trust me, you're going to want to come. And so his mom's like, oh, okay, I'll come. Her tone changed, thinking something went wrong, which something kind of did go wrong. So anyways, the mom pulls up and she sees the car. She's like, oh, my God. At first, she's like, Charlie, what do you do to your car? And Charlie's like, nah. And the father there's like, man, or Mrs., I don't know, Mrs. Finney, let's take a random last name. Mrs. Finney, can I talk with you for a second? She's like, yeah, 100%. What happened? Goes through basically what happened, says the whole story. And she's like, oh, well, that's very generous of you guys. And he's like, look, our son's in a lot of trouble. We're sorry for what he did. We're bringing to behavioral therapy to make this better, but it's a work in progress. We just ask you guys keep it between us. And she's like, yeah, no, I totally understand that. That can be done. And sure enough, in a couple days, Charlie got a new car. It was driven, he was told to go to a certain car lot. Charlie and his mom drive over. And it's not like a freaking Lamborghini, right? It's not like one of those SUV Mercedes cars. But it was a much nicer car than the car Charlie had before, dude. It was a significantly nicer car. And Charlie's mom's like, oh my God, that might be better than my car. And Charlie's just smiling the whole time, oh my God. He turns to his mom, he's like, Mom, if you ever have any rich parents that need babysitters for their psychopath, skibidi toilet obsessed little kids, please let me know, because I'm ready to take another one of those jobs.